Speaking of the Embracer Group has gone on another big shopping spree. Tell us about it, Swinny.
All right, so I'll pick up on this one. So, not content with snapping up Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and more earlier this year, Swedish conglomerate Embracer Group, as you said, have gone shopping again. And there's some pretty big things in here. So, now the total amount of these new acquisitions are reportedly, I don't think this is official statement from them, but reportedly in the realm of about 577 million, which when you look at one particular thing in this is kind of wild that it's actually that low. And they've created a new operations group called Embracer Freemode to help handle some of these acquisitions as kind of like I guess like an operating group within. So, like, you just look up Embracer Group on Wikipedia. There's just levels and levels and levels of subdivisions and published labels and everything. But the big one, and while it's not directly game related, I think like in the realm of the fact that there's other acquisitions here that are. This is kind of the big one. They've acquired Middle Earth Enterprises, which actually means they now control the Tolkien IP and worldwide rights to the motion pictures. Like basically, like they own the literary rights to Lord of the Rings,
The
which is insane.
literary or the
No, the literary, but also a lot of the rights relating to other media as well. Now, I'm not going to get into everything to do with I know New Line Cinema used to own the rights to Lord of the Rings movies and all the stuff like that. I'm just focusing on the fact that their statement is saying that they own the IP now. Basically, Middle Earth Enterprises is the company that basically other companies would work with to license that IP. It is absolutely insane. Now, this is Embracer Group have a lot of the acquisitions they've been making have kind of been going outside of the gaming sphere, like whether or not it's actual physical board games and stuff. And some of the acquisitions we'll talk about later on are more so in other areas of entertainment. But the fact that even in as recently as May, EA announced that they're working with Middle Earth Enterprises on a new Lord of the Rings mobile game. So this is just a crazy thing, and it just seems a very low. Like when you factor in there's more here in this bunch, like a very low amount for an IP that you would consider would be absolutely, like I know not everything Lord of the Rings touches turns to gold, but it's still pretty wild stuff. So
Yeah, no, it is kind of crazy actually. Like I'm just reading about it now. It's a bit complex though. It's not like they
yeah,
own Lord of the Rings itself. It's like they own the rights to the names of
yeah.
the characters and the places and the ability to make certain like
Mm.
media out of it. It's really weird and complex.
And because there's like the new, Rings of Power Amazon show, like they mention all this stuff, and there's so much going on in this, like a cross media kind of, IP like the Lord of the Rings and that. But look, that's obviously big news. But in the gaming sphere, they also picked up limited run games, which, while not the biggest company out there, is definitely the biggest in the collectible kind of, like printing like limited physical games for, the fact that even the Chemco games I talk about that I joke about, they do a lot of them in physical release for Switch and PlayStation, and now they're starting to do some Xbox stuff as well. But this does line up a lot with, they're trying to just really have a foot in every corner of the market. And the fact that they also a few months ago started talking about that they're doing like they've got a game preservation initiative kind of lines up with that as well. The fact that, there's going to be physical versions of some of these games, but the limited run games will operate as an independent subsidiary under the existing management, or at least for a time. Who knows in the future? But so it seems like they're basically they'll probably be the same limited runs. It's not like they're going to change their branding or anything like that. But yeah, that's a bit of a wild one out of nowhere, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of a bit honestly disappointed about like limited run games getting bought up by them. Like I know that they're saying that they're going to run it as it is, but I don't know. It just feels like the energy would be different. Surely it would be different.
Yeah, especially if you've got, if you recall correctly, the Embracer Group saw a $1 billion investment from the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. So I wonder if that's going to influence a bunch of things. Maybe not.
Who knows? I mean, they've been spending money everywhere. It's
Gotta
going to be interesting to
diversify the
see.
oil.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all those investments kind of impact the industry in, let's say, 5 years' time or something. But
Yeah, because isn't SNK owned by that investment fund?
yeah,
Like pretty much almost 100% these days. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, you know what? I'd love to, as a business person, understand how the hell they structure their business, the Embracer Group, because they have so many studios,
It's
IP,
wild.
games, everything on the go. It's like, how the hell do they manage it? I'd love to understand their structure.
The fact that the company that now owns the makers of Elix and that, like Piranha Bytes,
Yeah,
also
that's
owns the
right.
rights to Lord of the Rings is kind of insane to me.
And Tomb Raider,
But
right? Like, am I
Tomb
getting
Raider
things
and
mixed up?
Yeah,
Deus
Borderlands.
Ex.
Sex.
Borderlands,
Yeah.
Saints Row,
nuts.
and so they also rounding out acquisitions. That's not all. So there were 6 more acquisitions as part of this as well. So one was Tuxedo Labs. So they're a Swedish studio. So they made Teardown, very popular game in the last, I guess, like 18 months or so. Tripwire Interactive. So they're a US studio. So they made Maneaster and the Killing Floor games.
Oh, yep.
And those two will operate under the Saber Interactive kind of part of Embracer Group. Although, what is this company called again?
Well, how many levels have they got?
Yeah, Bitwave Games. So they're a Swedish studio. So they're actually working on the just announced Gimmick Special Edition, which I'll actually bring up in the wrap up later. And 3 other companies. So Geotech, who they make gaming accessories, they're based in the UK. Singtrix, so they're a karaoke machine maker. And Tatsujin, so they're a Tokyo-based studio, but it gives them access to like a very eclectic Japanese arcade library back from the 80s for, I think it's Toa Plan. So anyone remember Snow Brothers? So it's them and Zero Wing. Zero Wing's the All Your Base I Belong to Us game and things like that. So, but yeah, man, I don't think they're done either. Like, it sounds like they're just going to keep buying shit until they're just like, that's ridiculous how much they own.
Yeah, I was looking into the guy who's behind Embracer Group. I was reading about him. It's Lars Wingfors. But he's like actually a really interesting cat. Like, he started his own like business when he was like 13. And then like grew it. Like even when he was 15, he was like literally making proper money. And
Did they start as Nordic games, or am I thinking?
I don't know.
name
Like, well, it's more like him that I'm interested in, like what he's doing and stuff
yeah.
like that, right? Like,
Let's get him on the show.
oh, yeah.
yeah.
He's got
We're
his,
big enough now,
he's
I
got his
think,
phone
boys.
number online for some reason.
Give him a call. What's his number? I'll call him right now.
But he's just like a really interesting person. Like, he just seems to just know a deal and like maybe a good version of Trump or something, right? But it's amazing. Like everything he buys, he just turns it around, and he's like very into comics and that whole space and just IP in general. So like, I agree with you, Swinny. Like like the Tomb Raider acquisition, the fact that there's Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, all of that stuff, it was like what, 300 million? I'm like, that feels like chump change in the scale of like 68 billion for Activision.
What dirt does this guy have on all these companies?
Just seems to make a good deal, man. Like, and I agree. Like, this news blew me away about the Middle Earth stuff, and I'm like, no, that doesn't mean that he can make like, you know, a Lord of the Rings movie. And I'm like reading, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it does, right?
That's so cursed, Mike.
Like, maybe I'm misreading it, Swinny, but like, it seems like they can make a movie if they want from Lord of the Rings.
Well, they actually stated that they have these opportunities now to potentially make movies based on the characters in Lord of the Rings.
But like, am I crazy?
Do a Disney. You know?
But that's what I mean. I mean, like, if like you pay $500 million, don't you feel like even if they made the shittiest effort to make a new Lord of the Rings movie, that would make the money back like straight away? Am I crazy?
Well,
no, they probably would.
577 million is not too far off a lot of movie budgets.
Wow, that's a pretty big movie budget, but unless you're adding in the marketing and stuff like that. But
Well, yeah.
but yeah, man, like it's hectic. Like I don't get it. Like this guy is like a genius the way he does these deals. Like I'd love to read a book. Like I'm actually gonna double check if he's written a book because I'm really interested in this guy He
Ain't
seems
got time to
really
write a book.
interesting.
He's making deals.
He's embracing everything.
Oh, I love it. That's a nice segue.
Into